here today. I'd like to introduce John Tudisco. He's going to be our moderator today. He's the president of the Interior Design Society New York chapter and senior architectural design rep for Tilebar. We really appreciate you coming out and participating. This is a really good panel. I'm really excited about it. I want to thank my team, Eric, Tarek, Emery, and I appreciate. I was like running around like a crazy person this morning, so I appreciate everybody coming. Thank you very much. You got it. That's great.
Welcome everybody. These are the first time I'm using these things. If it looks as weird as it feels, then I have the right sensation going on here. Yeah. It sounds like a kazoo. So, yeah, thank you for the introduction, Bobby. Bobby's been great, his team's been great. So, today we're diving into what happens after the installation is complete. How to protect, preserve, and maintain the beauty and value of our specs. Our panelists bring deep expertise in wood flooring, luxury cleaning, tile and stone care. So we're going to explore how to educate our clients, avoid common mistakes, and ensure long-term success. I think I just hit a button sometime. All right. So I'm going to talk a little bit about who's here with me. So first, Sabrina, I didn't ask, is Fierman or Fireman? Fierman. So Sabrina Fierman, she's the president of New York's Little L's, the premier luxury cleaning service in greater New York. A lot of us know her here. She joined the L's 20 years ago and learned every aspect of the business, quote unquote, from the floor up. So really, yeah, she's recognized as a celebrated expert in luxury cleaning and maintenance, frequently sharing professional tips and insights in leading publications, including Martha Stewart, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, a whole list of things. So welcome, Sabrina.
Thank you.
Tevfik Emre, actually known by everyone as Emery. He's kind of like Cher, or the artist formerly known as Prince. He's just one name, just Emery. He's a civil engineer. He has a global background, having worked across Europe, Middle East, since 2002 in New York City, and he founded Duke Floors to bring a personal, detail-driven approach to high-end wood flooring. And what began as a small family business is now a boutique company here, built on craftsmanship, integrity, and the values that he has as his family and for Duke Floors. So welcome. Thank you. Welcome. Last but not least is my colleague, Craig Cahoon, who flew in from Raleigh, North Carolina, just for this event.
Wow.
And thank you, Craig. Appreciate it. Thank you. But he has more to his bio just than that. He has a degree in construction management from East Carolina University. He was a commercial tile contractor for over 20 years. He worked on a lot of large projects, including from backsplash tiles to huge projects, CTS stone, all of the types of industry-specified materials. He is now the technical director of Tilebar, and he focuses on training Tilebar staff. And I can say as a company, we really take our responsibility seriously in training our team, because we have so many varied products, and that's over 800 people. So Craig, thank you very much. Appreciate it. So, Emery, what's the first conversation you typically have with a client once the installation is complete? And use your mic, because if I have to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We make sure we deliver to the client a livable. They don't have to bring their housekeeper after us. I mean, we leave a very clean floor. Part of our installation is we clean as we install and cover the floors as we proceed. So, of course, one of the first questions, how do we maintain our floors? Now, depending on the finish, we come up with recommendations. There are oil finishes, there's water-based finishes. They have different approaches for maintenance. As per the material, we give them the route how to clean up their floors. And we are always available. Once we do the installation, we are always available to help them out if they have any questions.
You know, that's important because we have to manage the customer's expectations when you leave. You find that, I have found that a lot of job sites, and I'm glad we're having this conversation. I've been involved in many panel discussions, industry events, and it's always about selling a product or specifying the product. And I commend everyone that's here because there's a lot of things to know, and I think you'll come away today with a few things that you didn't know that you can help your client and be a professional. Because just delivering the job is really for us, we think it's like the end of the line, but for the customer, they spent all that time and all that money and they're just starting. They want to enjoy it with their families years down the road and make sure that their investment is enjoyed and protected. Craig, what would you say on tile job? What's an ending with a client when at the end of a job? What kind of instructions are given in general?
Sure, yeah. It's all about cleaning and maintenance. We always start with the intent is for the floor, we leave the floor, like Emre said, in a livable condition, and the intent is for it to be that way over the next decade. Tile has a very long lifespan. The great thing about tile is pretty non-porous, so it's hard to stain. As I tell my team all the time, nothing's impossible. I've seen some people mess up some tile. But we leave them with the idea of, to keep this looking like it does right now, normal, regular maintenance, whether that's vacuuming and sweeping regularly, and then attacking problems, the wine spill, because John was dining at your house, he's sloppy, whatever, clean it up quickly.
Wine is a bit.
Be quick when you attack those things, because while the tile is pretty impervious, you have grout, and that is the kind of the root of all evil, and that was the problem, the things that I tackled often in my career. Grouts are better now, but they still need maintenance. So sweeping, vacuuming regularly, getting problems solved quickly, and then having a good solution for your normal maintenance, mopping, sweeping, using we prefer you use a tile-specific cleaner, but there's a lot of do-it-yourself cleaners out there, and so that's
hopefully we'll do more of a deep dive, because on the tile part, there are a lot of other products that require a little more different attention, like a natural stone.
Sure.
We'll dive into that later. And then there's other products that you and I work on, is LVT, luxury vinyl flooring, which is a whole other animal. You had a question, yes? What's your name?
My name is Ashraf Gad. I own a couple of products in Manhattan. My question is, when he delivered the job, he gave me like 2 to 3 years warranty. I don't really care because I have rental property. I care about every time the tenant move out. So after like 5 years, 6 years, every 5 years I need to refinish it. What do you guys do for that? Because like daily maintenance, nobody will do it, and we know that. But after 5 years, I need to refresh mine. I don't want to replace it.
So it's probably a different answer for tile, and then Emre, I'd like to get your feedback.
So for tile and stone, normally if you've got a rental situation like you have, normally it's a deep clean situation. So probably you're being interested in that. And the good thing about tile, it's pretty rigorous. I mean, you can go stiff bristled nylon brush is your friend. Porcelain tile is not going to scratch, not going to think. If it's a rental property, you probably don't have natural stone, so you can get down and dirty with a porcelain tile, scrub it well, and evacuate the water. That's the biggest thing that we see when someone is cleaning. They leave the residue on the tile. But if you've got a system or a procedure to deep clean, scrub with your stiff bristled brush or your stiff pads, and to get that dirty water off the floor, rinse it well with clean water, that's probably going to serve you well for a porcelain tile. For a stone tile, if you have that, you may look into a refinishing process. That's the quickest and easiest way to get it back to base level.
Thank you. What was your first name again?
Ashraf.
Ashraf. So another suggestion would be to call Sabrina.
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to get, what would you do? What would you up?
Right. So we see this every day. There is a big difference between a deep cleaning, right, and maintenance cleaning. And a lot of times when people come in and ask us to provide housekeeping service, we will start with an introduction of the idea of a deep cleaning. And that is really looking at all the surfaces, from the ceiling all the way down. And tile is indeed a very durable surface, and we don't see problems with tile. What we see, particularly in New York City, is grout issues. And it's incredible, it's so interesting to me. Grout, and please correct me if I'm wrong, and I could be, the grout needs to be resealed on a very regular basis. And most people don't know this, so this is a really important thing, maintenance. So in your properties that are rental properties, every time that somebody's moving out of that property, you want to really inspect that grout, have it cleaned, and then resealed, and that's going to help you for a long time to come. But we do a lot of that. We do a lot of very delicate, detailed work on grout. And our advice is always, once we've cleaned it, and it's sometimes hard to get it back to its original state. Clients might want to have it regrouted or certainly absolutely resealed.
Before we move on to wood, I'll say something about grout. You're absolutely correct, but I will say grout has changed a lot. When you're doing or redoing a property, don't cheap out on the grout. Don't buy the least expensive one. My favorite is the high performance grout, which is kind of a mid-grade, still cement based, but it has it is dense. It has some stain resistant properties. Once again, nothing stain proof. But I would say spend that extra money when you're renovating. Those things make the difference, and then it makes our job a little bit easier going down the road.
Emery, what would you say, thank you, Greg and Sabrina, what would you say are some of the common mistakes people make when maintaining their floors?
Yeah, the housekeepers sometimes purchase wrong products from the suppliers. One of the common problem that we come across is they get polished, and instead of cleaning, getting them cleaning
I
stuff.
think I would do that. Sounds nice.
Sounds nice, but that it's a big problem, and then we have to go in, try to get the polish out. Sometimes we are able to, and sometimes not. So the housekeepers they are the ones to be trained what to purchase. We usually recommend, now in the market, mostly the floors are water-based finish. So Bona has a good product for this. And we actually, at the end of every job, give our clients a cleaning kit that they can always purchase from Amazon.
What about the different woods, like Brazilian or cherry or white woods? Are different birch? Is it different?
No, but it's the finish. Is it oil finish or is it water-based finish? The wood doesn't matter there, but the type of finish is an issue. For oil-based finishes, if they are not cured ones, like Rubio stuff,
Right.
they have different stuff. They have to use their own products.
Can you think of a job that was just a disaster? Somebody really screwed something up.
I have so many things in mind. Yes.
Would an acid, like someone uses like an acid cleaner, would that really be bad, or is it more like using oil base and
Yes.
use a topical finish that's a problem?
The most big problem that we face is they get polish and or they get wax.
Right.
It's impossible to remove the
Wow.
wax. You have to sand and refinish the entire floor.
Well, what about water stay? Like somebody have like a planter and they take the planter out. and
Someone
it's-
leaves a planter and leaves a ring on the floor, that sounds pretty involved.
There are some, we work with several European companies, they have stain removers, but they have, those are so strong, they might have the bleach effect. Sometimes they are very successful, like metal rings, the legs of the furniture, we go very carefully to remove them. Sometimes they are very successful, but sometimes they are not so, and the whole thing gets a white look.
Well, we're in New York City, high-end market. We're in the D&D building, high-end building. Designers and professionals are in this room. We're dealing with, a middle to higher end and a higher end clientele. So a lot of people do have cleaners, or housekeepers, or maids, or services that come in. One thing that Sabrina does, and her company does, that other people do not, is that they actually can have a session to train the housekeeper. Tell us about that, how that came about. I think that's a great feature.
Yeah, we do train housekeepers. And one thing that's interesting that we've seen over the years is even homeowners, regular homeowners, we haven't grown up cleaning like our grandmothers or our great-grandmothers, right? It's something that the knowledge has been lost. So homeowners don't always know how to train their housekeepers. And what we also see sometimes is people going from one home to an upgraded home. And they bring their housekeeper along, and the housekeeper can feel very overwhelmed and very intimidated by all these new services. So it is so important to ensure that the housekeeper knows not only what to do, but what not to do. And when we get to products in particular, it is really essential to make sure they're using the right products on the right surfaces. One of the things that I always advise clients is less is more. On a brand new home, you can clean it almost entirely with liquid ivory soap. It's not going to ruin anything. It's not going to strip finishes. Another thing that people don't know is to dry surfaces. So they clean the bathroom fixtures, and then they say, well, why are they all streaked? Well, because they haven't dried them thoroughly. Talking about floors, it is so important to vacuum floors first, wood floors. We always start with vacuuming. We start up high, of course, and work our way down. But we will actually clean a floor. I'm not talking now about housekeeping, I'm mixing things up a little bit, but we will vacuum the floor and get all of anything that's on the floor off of it, because those things will scratch the floor. They can scratch the finish. So you want to always do that. And we work with housekeepers, we bring in our supervisors, and we go through the home with them. And we go through the entire home, and we work with them on what products they're using, what materials they're using, making sure they're not using abrasive products, soft scrub. And of course they like these strong products because they're easy, they're effective, they work very well. But over time, they will degrade the surface. So as a homeowner, I say, take this all away. Like, take the ammonia, take the bleach away, hide it. And only give it to them if it's really something.
Sabrina, there's a product. Has anyone heard of Tilex? Cleaner Tilex? Oh, it's horrible. Go to the supermarket shelf, Tilex, it's sulfonic acid. It smells, but it's acid. So you may, a porcelain tile wouldn't get damaged from that necessarily. A marble tile would, and sometimes you have tile and marble next to each other in a room, or it splashes on your shower doors, or your faucet.
The features.
Or it will.
It will tarnish all the features too.
Yes.
Yes, or even just a little drop of that on a rug, an area rug will bleach it, and everything is precious. Everything in the home is precious.
I learned two things, but I have a question. Yeah, we have a question out here. Yes.
What did you say about soft scrub?
Oh, soft scrub.
Soft scrub is an abrasive product, so you have to be very careful with it. It's great on tile. It's not going to damage the tile, but it will get on other, it will get on other surfaces around it. It's also a spray. So one of the things that our housekeepers, we don't spray product on a surface. We spray product on a rag or a clean cloth, right? So that's going to contain the product. It's not only the actual surface that's being cleaned, it's what's around it. And education is very important to that.
It is. So I learned today that I've been vacuuming wrong. Bottom up. But we're talking about. No. But Bob, do you have a question?
I just wanted to point out that each of the panelists just mentioned one thing that I think is forgotten very often: sweeping, dusting, sweeping, dusting, vacuum, sweeping, dusting,
Oh, we
vacuum.
have
Like,
that.
all of those, no, they're really, no, Craig mentioned it, you mentioned it, it's like that does, like, just wetting that and pushing it ruins the surface.
Sure, when you have a
Right.
product like something that's very low porosity, or even hard woods, picture cleaning a window, because windows technically not porous, I guess in a laboratory it is, but if you have a dirty window and you clean it with water, and then don't wipe it off, like you said, don't dry it, what happens is the moisture dissipates and then it leaves behind the dirt, and that's where the streaks come from. Now, Sabrina, how would you say is the difference between educating a customer on cleaning versus preserving?
Again, less is more. So we're talking about newly built homes, generally speaking. We are maintaining the home, and the maintenance is going to preserve that home. If things are being done the right way, if you're vacuuming your floors, getting the dirt off the floors, removing anything that can scratch them, removing the dust that gets built up over time, grease in the kitchen, all of these things, the more that's built up, the harder the elbow grease, right? The stronger an elbow grease you need to use, and that comes with its own risks. So in terms of preserving things, it's really about maintaining the cleanliness of things, and it's not only, it's very interesting also to talk to clients about how much time is needed. That is also an important factor in maintaining and preserving. Why do you need 12 hours to clean my house? I do it in 2 hours. You don't need 12 hours. Well, well, let's go take a look, right? Let's look in the cabinets, let's look at the lights, let's look at the baseboards, let's look at the window frames and sills. There are so many surfaces to address, and a proper maintenance will help preserve the surfaces.
Raise your hand if you had a client call you months later about a problem that was preventable. And what was it? Any examples?
Restoration of marble floor. Polished marble floor installed. Installer left, told them when you're ready to clean it, use vinegar. That's our best friend, because we're called in to restore it. But that's common. People don't know what products to use on what surfaces.
Yeah. I grew up in a tile business, and white vinegar and water was your friend for tile, for ceramic tile. Bucket of water, a little white vinegar, non-sudsing, or clear ammonia, non-sudsing ammonia perhaps. You may tell me I'm wrong. But if you're using vinegar, because it has a little bit of acid in there, the tile can handle it. It'll break away some dirt. But if you touch marble, or if you touch other
It's a
surfaces.
sensitive surface.
Yeah, anyone else examples?
Yeah, I have something that's related to, it's just before the install, or why it's the install, and where we're all moving and merging at the same time. So there's all this installation going on, and each individual should really talk to the GC on the project to make sure that things are being protected. So the floor is in, right? So it needs to be protected, because they'll say, oh, we have scratches in our floor, and then you find this trail of the refrigerator, on the wood floor, and it's placed in it. It's like your floor scratch. It's like you drag the refrigerator over it. And the same is true for tile and any of these other surfaces. And this is a lot just prior to probably Sabrina hitting it, but when it all starts merging and coming together, there has to be a really strong communication to the homeowner and to the GC and everybody who's working on the project, because so many plates are in the air. I think this gets missed, and we often have to go in and repair those
Right.
things.
Well,
I just speak to that. We do a lot of post-construction cleaning, so we come in after the construction is completed. And one of the things that we get in trouble with some of our contractor clients is that when the dust is gone, we find a lot of these things. We're looking so carefully in a microscopic way as we're going through that home from top to bottom. And so we find a lot of these damages, unfortunately, and we always have to document that.
One of the things I'll also say is sometimes protection, if not done correctly, can be more dangerous than leaving it open. Many times we've seen them put down the ram board or the thick carpet, but they didn't clean the floor first. And then you have dust, even sand or whatever, and traffic all over it for the rest of the construction. You pull it up and they're calling us saying, your floor's defective. No, you protected it incorrectly.
Well, on that note, so there are some products like sealers that seal grout, seal marble. It's really bad to try to seal something that's not porous. If you have a porcelain tile and you try to seal it, what happens, it will dry on the surface, or if you're sealing the grout and you overspill onto the tile, which is inevitable. Craig, what happens when someone leaves a really good sealant to dry on the tile?
But it looks terrible, it looks milky, it looks nasty. The good thing is, John, is that it can be removed, often, you know, a novice DIY or the uninstalled or the uneducated cleaner is putting the sealer on too heavy because more is better, right? You know, and it puddles up, it dries, it leaves this milky stuff, and then they're calling us saying, why is your tile defective? And normally then we have to step them back. You know, Sabrina probably can take care of it, but you got to strip that off and getting it. Luckily with tile, it's doable. Some other finishes, maybe not so much.
Can you explain the evolution just very briefly about sealers from topical to impregnated?
Sure, yeah. There are two types of sealers in the stone and tile industry. There used to be topical sealers, which is just like it sounds. You paint it on the top of the tile. It really sits on the top of the tile. Think of it more like a wax VCT. And it protects the tile by not letting anything through that sealer. The problem with that in the tile world, they tend to yellow and do some other stuff like that. And they can wear off really easily. Now, today's technology, most sealers that we have are penetrating sealers. They actually go into the pores of the material and they bond to those pores and protect them from contaminants. Let's be clear though, it doesn't always protect from water. Water can still transfer through, especially your stones. But what that sealer does is it lets the water through or the water vapor through, but then it keeps the contaminants out of it, whether it's on the surface or not. But that's the difference between a penetrating sealer and a topical sealer.
Emre, how do seasonal changes affect wood, and how could clients prepare for that?
Yeah, this is a major problem in wood flooring, especially in New York, where humidity and temperature can vary a lot by summer and winter. So if we are in the design phase of the project, if we are involved, I always recommend to the design team to have a humidifier or dehumidifier in the AC system. Especially dehumidifiers for summer period is not actually summer but the fall. August, September and part of October it can be very humid. So the wood expands and then we get a lot of calls, or my floors are popping up. And then the first thing we say, okay, did you have your ACs on? Can you bring in some dehumidifiers? And you would be surprised, a large bucket of a dehumidifier can easily get filled up in a day. In a 400 or 500 square feet of space, it can just fill up.
Now, you're talking after the fact, because there's something also about acclimating the product before you install it. Is that a separate conversation?
That's a separate conversation. And then we have similar problems in January, February, sometimes to the middle of March. We get a lot of calls. Oh, there are big gaps on my floors. That's because your air is too dry. Relative humidity, RH, I have measured in some apartments as low as 12%. Now, any wood product you buy from anywhere, if you read the fine print, you have to maintain 40 to 60% of RH in any space. So,
Which, excuse me, is also where people are most comfortable, actually human beings are most comfortable.
yes, and then this brings another problem. The supplier says, oh, the warranty is void because you didn't maintain the humidity. So for that time of the year, I recommend to all our clients. Also, I know from other suppliers, they send alert emails to their clients that they have to put a humidifier to the space. I mean, even in this showroom, you don't see any gaps now, but in January and February, we start seeing gaps. And it was our first year here. We realized it a bit late, and the humidifiers we put in were not so effective. Also, the AC units, they are just blowing dry air, so any moisture we try to pump into the room just flows out of the room. This is a problem.
So to give you a little visual, can someone get a device? Should it be a high-end apartment, multi-million dollars? Should they be getting a moisture meter, and how do you use it? What do they do with it?
Also, we at the end of every job, I give the clients a digital hydrometer that can show them what the content.
Should designers have that in their toolbox?
Well, if they know the importance of it, it will be great.
It's a really good point, but also typically after 2 or 3 years in the New York area, it's going to expand and contract and will find its natural home. But we talk to the contractors and the GCs a lot ahead of time to measure everything, and if it's new construction or they're doing a whole apartment, they're integrating the HVAC system.
Yeah.
They're integrating like the humidifiers and stuff like that. If they're doing, it's like a big construction job, they'll like do it like that. So it should be able to manage it.
Yes, Liz.
Is there a time of year that's better or worse to install the floors?
Ideally, it is spring and fall. You don't have low or high moisture content in the air. So, but that doesn't mean that we, as a trade, stop in the summer.
The bills come 12 months.
We measure, and if it is needed, we bring our humidifiers to the job site. We have large capacity humidifiers or dehumidifiers. We run the ACs of the apartments that we work at. So this is how we try to maintain the 40 to 60%. I mean, you can go as low as 30, but below 30 is a red flag.
And a lot of that could have started with the not acclimating ahead of time. You're starting off in a really bad situation if it's not acclimated first.
Acclimation is a different story. Now, the material nowadays is mostly engineered, and they are shrink wrapped in packages. So these don't need to be acclimated like the traditional 3/4 solid wood floors. You don't have to acclimate them. Just to stabilize the temperature, if it came from a warehouse which was extremely hot, you would leave for a couple of days, but you don't need to acclimate that wood in the space, just like a solid flooring.
That's interesting. So tile, you don't need to acclimate it, except if it's super cold and you put in thin set down and the drying times change. But I was kind of thrown into a situation with acclimation because tile typically doesn't have a problem, but my company also offers LVT, luxury vinyl tile. First, it took me a while to say those two words together, luxury and vinyl, because it's not in my blood, because I grew up in the tile industry. But I've come to love LVT because it has its purpose. So I did a project in Long Beach. I just built 3 residential towers on a super block in Long Beach that they never developed. And one building was 181,000 square feet of LVT. They're installing it, we're getting a call, having some issues. Our technical director from vice president of LVT came in, flew in, and he said to me, John, are they acclimating? Is the room, like, yes, it was beginning of the summer. We go into these rooms, the air conditioner, where the air conditioner was, is still an opening. Like we're on the water, the humidity's pouring in. And it all had to do with that. They had to get ACs on, and so acclimation is a whole other conversation. I agree with you on that.
The room has to be at livable conditions.
Right.
Both temperature-wise and humidity-wise.
So let me ask the group here, what other products that you use that you come across, and probably extra points if it's not tile, stone, or wood, that you have a concern about maintenance? Like maintenance issues come up, you're getting a phone call, yes?
You know,
ask a question?
Sure.
A lot of people today want very natural things. We're very aware of cancer and chemicals. So for a young couple with young kids, what could be like a basic cleaner that one could use to do wood floors and marble and tile, because they're not going to have time to do different. Is it just soap and water? I mean, what could be a basic cleaner that's not toxic?
Sabrina, what do you
Sure,
think?
sure. So Bona is an eco-friendly product. It's a very good product
Bona,
for wood floor.
B-O-N-A.
B-O-N-A, and they have a whole system, like a whole, different products for cleaning the floor, materials with their product. So we use that a lot. Some people want us to use vinegar, and then, of course, that has to be diluted. It has to be used very, very well wrung out. Again, wood and water and moisture don't go together, so, we can do that, and then you need to dry the floor very well. So floors are definitely a part. As I mentioned before, you really can't damage very much with palm olive or liquid ivory soap diluted with water, and again, used and dried. There are a lot of great eco-friendly products out on the market today. And there are also people who have issues with fragrances. So you can also find products out there. And just an all-purpose cleaner will address most surfaces. You don't have to have, there are people who love products. They love cleaning products. You open up their cabinet and they've got 30 different cleaning products in there. A housekeeper's not going to know what to do with them. And of course, finding them, keeping them clean, organizing them. So again, less is more. An all-purpose, very gentle, all-purpose cleaner. Soft microfiber rags to dust. Things that collect and attract the dust. Not feather dusters, which are so pretty and lovely, but that's just moving dust around. It doesn't actually take the dust away.
You mentioned fragrances, so I was having a meal with a friend that was sensitive to smells. I'm really not, and it wasn't a tablecloth restaurant. It was casual, and a couple tables over, they're spraying Windex on the tables to clean. And we're getting our food delivered, and that Windex has a very distinctive smell. I mean, they may not think it's bad or not, but it doesn't even go with my hamburger, right? And I'm sitting here, and I'm thinking. And I said, can you stop spraying that?
Yeah,
the person I was with looked at me and said, oh, that smelled like it wasn't going to interfere with my meal, but it was interfering with another person's meal. And I interrupted them. I felt like going to the owner, like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, I actually see this quite often.
Really?
It's really surprising to me in a food establishment. People are spraying Windex on the pastry.
And taste has so much to do with smell, right?
It's a glass country.
But absolutely, vinegar is a great product. If you need scouring powder, you can use baking soda. I really do like liquid ivory, so it's really
She's on the board of,
gentle. It's just very gentle. Yes.
So, scrubbing. When I had hair on my head, I was a movie projectionist. We used to clean the reflectors with Bon Ami.
With what?
Bon Ami?
Bon Ami, yes, Bon Ami. There are some great older products out there.
Okay, so it's still good.
It is still good. It's hard to find. I'm like Borax. Borax is still out there. It's great for the laundry.
Yes, Peter.
I have a question for Sabrina. When you mentioned that feather dusters just move the dust around, it reminds me of how I feel when I'm cleaning my concrete floor, and I use Bona and the microfiber thing. But I always feel like in all my years on this planet, I never really learned how to mop a floor. I feel like I am mostly redistributing dirt.
Right.
So do most commercial cleaners that aren't Sabrina.
So what's the trick?
So it's like life. We want to be organized, right? We want to go back and forth in the same direction and not in just arbitrary directions, right? And so that way, same thing with vacuuming. Always with the wood braid and the wood grain of the wood.
Right.
Moving, and so if you just start in one corner and you're moving up and back to a certain spot and then forward, and just just like cut it up into chess pieces, right?
Yeah.
And do a square and then move on to the next
Well,
square.
I mean, I
and
get
so
that
on.
bit, but like with that Bona thing, right, you got this thing that you you're squeezing the clean product onto the floor, and then you're going over it with your microfiber mop thing, and that gets nice and dirty, which is gives
Well,
you lots of,
you bring up an
dopamine.
excellent point.
But how many of those? Like, I feel like you should use 200 of those microfiber things for one floor.
So this is a really great point, because when we do deep cleanings and post-construction cleanings, we bring all our own supplies. And we will bring bags of cotton rags that are literally this high, depending on the size of the space. We might have 2 or 3 of those. And, we use those to dust the walls, and we are dusting, and then we remove it, and we replace that rag. And we just keep doing that until the rags come clean. Now that's hard to do. You can't have all those rags in the home. Concrete is its own particular surface. We would use, again, just a very gentle cleanser on that. Yeah, and again, vacuum first.
Yeah, can I ask a question? I always tell my team when you're grouting or cleaning, if you can't see the bottom of the bucket, to change the water. What, is that too soon or too late?
That's too late, and we don't like those string mops.
Yeah.
We don't like those string mops, and you're always constantly got to change that water. You want to be cleaning with clean water. You want to be cleaning with clean rags. You don't want to be using the same rag. There's some really great, there's a little self-promotion piece in our Instagram where we show some of the rags that the cleaners, before and after. So you really have to turn those things over.
Since we're on the free advice portion of the event, can I take a pledge and spray it on the duster?
Oh my goodness.
Is that
There are
recommend?
2
You're
products. That's it.
That's
2
what I do.
products that we will never use, and we always recommend that clients never use, and that's Pledge and Mop and Glow.
And Mop and Glow.
You asked earlier, what was the hardest thing, or what was the worst thing, that you've seen on the job? We had someone bring us in to take the buildup from Mop and Glow on the floor. Okay, this was a wood floor or vinyl floor, honestly, I don't remember, but it was, 10 by 12, two men for 6 hours scrubbing that floor. It's really almost
And
impossible.
it kind of
to
alludes
build
to what
up. The
Emre
Mop
was
and
saying.
Glow and the Pledge, it really builds up over time. People think it looks great at that moment, but over time, it does a lot of damage.
I've seen the advertisement or heard the advertisement for Mop and Glow. Oh, they're still in business, I guess they are. It's malpractice, what they say. They say tile. In no circumstances has there ever been a scenario, correct me if I'm wrong, that you use Mop and Glow on tile.
No, there's no need. Once again, you're going to get the buildup.
Yeah, and Emre, you were saying that before, people using sealer on, not a sealer, a wax on dust.
Wax polish
Use your wax.
I actually have a question.
Okay.
Because we do, we struggle with wax floors. This is, this is sort of an old-fashioned, right, older style of floor. And how can they tell, right, if they're going into a home, what is on the floor? What is sealing the floor, if it's poly or wax?
Now, there are small alcohol swabs, yes. You test an area. You go in an area, you test it, and see what happens to the finish. A wax will
Turn a little white.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
And then you know it's wax. And to treat wax, you have to put more wax on it.
Yeah, then you need a professional person to come with a machine and re-wax that floor.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're talking about maintenance. When we talk about wood, like tile, you can't refinish. You're not going to sand down. Tile, stone, you could grind down. With wood, do you consider that maintenance, or is that a whole nother industry?
Sanding is your final, that's the most we can go.
Right.
We try to, after like your tenants leave, we come up with a deep cleaning, but we don't know how bad the tenant leaves the apartment. I mean, there are some tenants, like they don't walk on the floor, that's how they return the apartment. But some can really beat up the floors, and it's usually a conflict between the owner and the tenant. And we try to be as fair as possible because sometimes the owners have different ways of approaching the problem, but we try to be as fair as possible between the two. So deep cleaning is a way. The other way is, the next level is buff and recoat. So if things don't come out well with the deep cleaning, we then offer the client that we need to buff and recoat the floors.
So you mentioned before that a lot of your products are engineered wood. My understanding, the wood portion is a few layers deep on the surface. You're able to refit, sand it once or twice?
Yes, usually the minimum by European standard is 4 millimeters. That would allow comfortably 2 sandings, and if the machine operator is careful, they can go up to even three sandings.
I have a question, Emre.
Yes.
I've been in some units that had engineered wood, and they have full-length windows and sunlight rugs.
Yes.
And then they decide to move out. Is there a solution?
No, there's no solution. That only needs to be sanded. But the solution is actually, not shades even, UV filters. The 3M has a nice filter that you stick on the glass that reduces, it doesn't take away, that reduces the UV light penetrating to the apartment. Also, not necessarily UV light. I mean, even in this space, getting oxidation and not oxidation, if a part is covered or non-covered, the color will be different. It doesn't necessarily need to see the these pieces. If we move them out, like this is getting some air, okay, and if we move it just a little, there's a color difference between. And this is because of, the wood is breathing.
So it's not necessarily UV rays.
Not only UV rays, but
So whatever the rug they have, that has to translate to the next tenant.
yes.
Yeah, same size rug.
Yeah, this is a common problem that we face, and the new tenants or the new buyers, they want to sand the floors. And sometimes the floors are hand scraped or there are some exotic finishes. So when we sand it, it is very difficult for us, some finishes, to replicate them because they need a shop environment, a production line that we cannot replicate on site. So they have to be careful.
So this is for the audience. What's one surface or material you think is at risk of being improperly maintained? It doesn't have to be wood or tile. So yes.
Antique wood, and beautiful antiques, wood furniture, Victorian, Regency, whatever. What is a natural oil to use in the winter when they talked about the humidity being very dry, so to protect the wood is hundreds of years old.
Right, there's a lot of personal preference with that. And when people ask us to polish wood furniture and antiques, we actually ask them to provide that particular product. Some designers like lemon oil, some like linseed oil, some don't want to put anything on it. Old Guardsman is a common product that's pretty good. So there are some very particular feelings about what product you use.
Thank you.
Yes, and I also wanted to mention, you asked about eco-friendly products. Simple Green is a very good all-purpose eco-friendly product.
There's also something called Branch Basics. It's wonderful. I buy it online, and it's all basics. It's got no chemicals in it.
Brand,
Branch, B-R-A-N-C-H, Branch.
Branch, thank
Yeah.
you.
What about like fabrics, of course? Yes.
Oh, you were saying with us, any service that the housekeeper's gonna really touch is something
Really?
that is
Is this, yeah.
That they can't raise up, they can't reach.
Yeah, I think for me, because I work at homes and as the person who oversees the housekeepers, it's always any service that someone hasn't asked what to do first. is the service that's going to be. Yeah. Fabric, same with fabric.
Yeah.
How do I take care of the person if you don't ask and you take care of it?
Don't ask. That's right, education.
Craig and Emre, so how do you collaborate with the industry to kind of educate, or how should we collaborate with the industry from installers and designers and architects to kind of have an understanding? This is an important topic, as we started off saying. It's really nice to have a nice new product, but that's, for us, it's kind of the end of the line for the client. It's the beginning. And you want to have them. What would you think, Craig, would be, even if it's not being done yet?
Yeah, I think it's on us to manage expectations. You know, we're selling a product, all of us up here, and as the person that distributes it, we know it best when it changes hands. And I think our first line of defense is whether it's purchased at a counter or whether it's purchased through an A&D rep or even online through a website like a lot of our stuff is. We need to offer that information, have it there, and be ready to answer questions. So that, I think that's our first line of defense. The second is training and being upfront. Anytime I meet a client, I rode with our team this week, I always tell our clients, I want the industry to improve. So if you have questions, even if it's not my tile, call me. Because the better we look as an industry raises all of us. It helps us all. So I think just being very, very, very vocal about it and being upfront and just having it part of the checklist. When you buy this, we're going to tell you this. Even if it's online, you're going to click here and you're going to see some cleaning and maintenance things. As an industry, we do have trainings, and we, Tilebar professionals, we participate in those trainings. We're constantly learning and just pushing it out there. If you got a quick thing, I mean, I'm the weirdest person. I'm taking pictures in bathrooms going, look how they clean this tile, and I'm putting it on Instagram. So, you know, that's just the nerdiness in me, but I want everybody to know because I want your installation to look as good as it can.
Yeah, Craig and I share some really weird texts. Like I'm in a men's room, I'll take a picture, like, you believe this? You know, I have a pipe and it's like cut, like it was cut with a chainsaw, you know, like he just laughs. And it's what Tyler is. Emre.
I'm coming from the construction side of the business. I've been contractor since 2008. So we are new in the supply side of the business. So I always tell my clients, my phone is open 8 days a week, 25 hours a day. So I'll be happy to go and visit them if they have any questions. But when we leave the job completed, we always, tell them what to get and how to maintain. And also, I would, if they ask, visit them a year or 2 years later on to make a professional cleaning, not necessarily deep cleaning, but we have these heavy buffers, 70 pounds plus, so that, just going with the buffer can take out what they wouldn't be able to do with regular cleaning stuff on a daily basis.
Right.
So just be available when the client has a question or any.
Yeah, information is key, and that's why we're all here. We're all professionals. You could be somewhere else right now. You're here learning, and that's why people hire you and bring value to your clients. Some of this may be like the nerdiest topic for a lot of people, but I'm really excited. We have a full house. You can go all the way in the back. Because it's really important, and that's what sets us aside, professionals aside. I call on architects and designers for projects, and I would be nothing without the product that I have. But what sets me aside is being an expert in what I do, and I respect people that are experts. You could be an expert on paper clips, and I would like to have a conversation with you. Because everybody like nerdy, I don't know. Well, there's 58 little ridges for a reason, or whatever the curve. Like whatever you're an expert in, I love it. You ever see this show, Antique Roadshow?
Yeah.
It's so oddly, I love that show. I haven't seen it in years, but it's just flicking the channel and some guy's like picking up a piece. Well, no, this can't be. This was made by the son-in-law of the Ottoman era's, mistress, and like just by looking at the back of something. And I do that with tile. If someone asks me, tile, evolves. So people will show us tile because it lasts forever. If you have a carpet floor, right, and you want to, it's bad, you just rip it up. Tile lasts for a long time, so inevitably people do come through with really old stuff. The first thing I do is look at the back of the tile. And I can honestly tell you by the clay, if it's from Italy or Spain, typically, or the US, with the markings on the back of the tile. So I kind of, we don't have the tile roadshow, but Craig, maybe let's do it. With Sabrina, we talked about, things that we can do for the industry. You're already doing your part by training the housekeepers. What's the appropriate words? Housekeeper or maid? Like, what's politically correct today? Housekeeper or maid? Like, is there?
I think we use housekeeper.
Housekeeper, okay.
More often.
So housekeepers, so you're doing your part by training them, because that's where a lot of damage can happen. Nothing's bad to them, but they're just thrown in the situation, and sometimes maybe a language barrier, sometimes not. Sometimes instructions aren't, one language, and sometimes they might not speak that language, in cases. So I think it's important for you to train people. Is there anything else? What's on the horizon at Little Elves?
Well, also, I just wanted to pick up your point about professionals, because sometimes people will ask us to do something, and you can see right away that no amount of cleaning is going to fix that. If there's a water stain or a red wine stain that's through the surface of that's permeated the surface, whatever you do to clean it, it's not going to be taken away. So we do refer, and that is a really good point, where you have to educate and say, you really need somebody to come in and deal with this specific thing, this professional for that thing. In terms of the future for, what's on the horizon in terms of cleaning.
Robots?
Yeah, robots. Well, I hope not.
Hopefully.
I hope not. I was at a makerspace and they had like one of these little backpack things, like the James Bond thing that was gonna like send the people up, and I could see, uses for that for cleaning, like buildings and things like that. I don't think Little Elves is going there anytime soon, but I think, it's interesting in terms of the cleaning industry. There is a lot of companies out there where you book online and, they send a cleaner, they send different cleaners each time. I mean, one of the things, I joke a little bit in that New York's Little Elves is sort of still in the 20th century, technologically speaking. Cleaning requires time and attention and effort. You can have your little robot, vacuum cleaner that's going back and forth and hopefully keeping that floor clean. And I think that technology has advanced and some of them do pretty well. But as this past hour we've talked about so many specifics, you really need somebody who's going to pay attention to the details. And it's really, again, not about having more or different. It's almost about going back to basics, and not, and just really paying attention to the simple things.
I like what you said. It's about timing, because it's elbow grease, right? It's really taking
is.
someone's knowledge. We're all used to taking that one, you're looking for that magic pill to lose weight, let's say, right? And it doesn't exist. You got to exercise.
Consistency.
Consistency
is the thing I see that, you get into that routine of, I'm going to do a deep clean, and you do the deep clean, and then 6 months later, I'm going to do another deep clean. But if you'd have cleaned every week,
it's like
you may not have to be doing the deep clean all the time.
You will have to rotate the tasks and know which tasks need to be done how frequently. High up areas, below furniture. There are certain things that should be done every day if they can be done every day. There are certain things every week, some things every month, and then some things quarterly or biannually.
Quite a question here.
Yeah, I have a question. We spoke about cleaning the wood and tile. I sell natural stone, marble, granite, website. I have people that come in and they buy the material, they install it in their kitchens, bathrooms, and then they ask, what's the best practice, how to clean that? What's your recommendation?
Right. My recommendation is to use a gentle cleaner. First, know whether this marble or stone is sealed or not. A gentle cleaner will keep it clean on a daily basis, and then periodically to use a pH neutral stone cleaner for that stone, but not every day. it's not something that needs to be done every day.
Yeah, I would say,
concur.
there are tile cleaners that are pH neutral, some of them called pH neutral cleaners. It's not acidic, it's not alkaline, it's pretty much as harmless as water, just maybe with some cleaning surfactants in it, perhaps, I think.
Right, to
Something
really
to
have
keep in
building
mind
up
that-
soap, scum.
Yeah.
and
Something to
then
keep in
shower.
mind, janitorial supply companies have decided that neutral is anywhere between 6 and 8.
Oh,
So when you're talking about natural stone, you need something specifically neutral for natural stone. Because those manufacturers know that neutral is 7.
so they're generalizing, they're doing a broader range when it's something neutral. When it comes
The
to
general,
a black polished marble, you need
like,
to be
like
careful.
Sabrina said, something specific for natural stone is
Right.
neutral.
Right, to maintain it, right, that's part of the maintenance. Keeping it clean on a daily basis and then maintaining it on a periodic basis with a product that is specific for that surface.
And if it's sealed, if the stone is sealed, does that change how you?
It can change what that specific product is for that surface.
Okay.
Yeah, my go-to is a sealer that we use, and then the cleaner that is paired with that sealer. And I always suggest them together. And then I always tell my team, maintenance has to do with traffic. If you have a guest bathroom that's rarely used, you don't have to clean it every day. But if this is your kitchen or your shower, it's going to take a lot more maintenance. So therefore, it needs to be resealed more often and cleaned more often. So those are things to think about.
I'm gonna ask if there's a golden rule kind of post-installation, just one takeaway. Before I do that, does anybody have any questions or
Yeah, I
comments?
just wanted to ask, Sabrina, this might pertain more to you and what you do. Oftentimes with all these high-end products, and I actually had to do this at one point, you collect everything that you're installing, you collect the information from the vendor or the manufacturer, and you make a Bible for the house. So as an interior designer, everything falls to the interior designer. It could be music, it just a lot of things fall to that person. And I think oftentimes in some of these more sophisticated installs where there's lots of layers of things, I recall doing like a binder of
Yes.
everything that you purchase and all the information that you get from the manufacturer. And it goes by room, you go to the room, you know when you go into that room, like what are the best practices, what are the proper cleaning things, because it's like a good start.
Yeah, we will often ask a client if they have that homeowner's manual. We know about cleaning and what products to use, so we use that more for visual references in terms of how we're making up beds and how we're setting out towels, because people have different styles and different looks.
Right.
A lot of the homeowners are not there, the designer might not know, or the owner's rep might not know. So we use it for that reference more so.
So any final words on the golden tips or any takeaways that you wanted to mention? So think about that. Emery, anything that?
I also recommend to our clients to keep some extra wood somewhere.
Extra products, attic stock.
Attic stock, exactly, because not everything is cleanable, not everything is repairable, and if that's the case, then we tell our clients to replace those things.
A lot of people ask me, what is the number one thing they can do to help them keep a clean home? I always advise a shoe-off policy. I have to say, I love young people today because they have learned this. My children come home with their friends, their shoes go off immediately. It's a very good thing, and it will really help. Also pets, if you have pets, clean their feet before they come in the house.
I think we covered most everything. I would say the one thing is don't get confused with a sloppy installation versus maintenance. So make sure if you've got a new project or something, you walk through that with your installer, walk through that with your general contractor to make sure that they're giving you the final product that you want. Because many times things look really good when they're still wet. They're like, my floor looks great right after I mop it, but as soon as it dries, things start to show themselves. So look at your floor in different conditions and different lighting, and then hire a professional if you can't figure it out. That's what they're there for.
Another thing that will help your client and you is a HEPA filter air purifier, particularly in New York City, in your bedrooms. That's gonna keep the
All filters
dust.
the same? I mean, sort of different qualities, but is there a type that they should buy?
A HEPA filter.
Oh, HEPA, okay.
HEPA filter will remove the smallest particles of dust.
Okay.
That's gonna reduce the amount of dust that collects in the home. It's essential for anybody who has any respiratory issues. So that's another important thing for cleaning the home.
So before we don't say goodbye, we say see you later, I'd just like to welcome everybody to Fall Market here, today and tomorrow. Interior Design Society, which is our New York City chapter, which is one of our educational events. Really excited to have everybody here. We do have our Vice President here, Brent. Brent is here. So,
Hi, how are you?
hey Brent, we have Barbara Haberman. She's our Secretary. Ann Cohen is our Treasurer. Jamie Keel is Jamie Keel, Communications Director. He is there. So we welcome you to join our organization. We welcome you to join the other organizations, ASID, NVDA, DLF, all the professional groups. But if you're going to join one, we think you should join our group. We're in this together. We get to educate, we get to connect. And a lot of what we do is networking. We do have a lot of fun. We do have some good events. This event is